Howdy neighbors, I wanted to make this video to celebrate one of my friends, the wonderful and lovely Jeanie Fitchen. She has been a wonderful presence in my life, especially at the Florida Folk Festival. And she's got a great story to tell about her life with the music, being a folk singer, and tell some wonderful stories here. She is without a doubt one of the most beautiful singers I have ever heard. Perhaps this will be especially interesting for folks who have known her and seen her at the Florida Folk Festival. I welcome y'all to sit back and enjoy this interview with the lovely, talented Jeanie Fitchen. All right. So, did you come from a musical family? Was there music in your household growing up?
Well, there was music in my household, yes. My mom loved classical music, so I grew up with classical music. When she was a little girl, she was born and raised in Brooklyn. Both my parents were. And she used to spend her Saturday afternoons listening to the Metropolitan Opera on the radio when she was a little girl. She had this big, beautiful operatic voice, too. She was kind of a prodigy. I guess you'd call her a prodigy at that time. She played a Carnegie Hall, or she sang at Carnegie Hall when she was 12 years old.
Wow.
As representing her school.
Wow.
But it never went anywhere. In fact, one of the sad things that happened as a result of that is someone apparently from New York heard Mom perform, and so they came to the house that evening and wanted to offer her a partial scholarship to the Juilliard School.
Yeah.
And my grandmother put the bets on it. She said, "No way." She said, "She's too ugly. She could never be a singer." I mean, it was a terrible thing to say.
That's horrible.
But you have to consider the family. My grandparents were immigrants. My father's parents were from Sicily. My mother's parents were from Greater Syria. And when my mother was 12 years old, her father died in Brooklyn. He was a tailor, had a tailor shop. So they were poor people at that point. My grandmother had to find some way to raise her 4 children that she had at the time. So there was just no way in the world she could consider anything like that for my mother. You know, it just was impossible. So it must have been very frustrating for my mom. But you know, she grew up and she loved the music, and we had the music all the time on at home, either the symphonies or the operas or whatever. She wanted me to be an opera singer. I didn't have the discipline for that, for the training, for that. But anyway, what's interesting is that my mom belonged to the Wednesday Music Club, which is part of the Florida Federation of Music Clubs. And every Wednesday they would meet. But once a month they would have entertainment. And Mom came home one day and said, "We had 4 girls playing the guitar and singing folk songs today. She said, you can do that." I was 13 at the time. I said, "I can?" She said, "Yes, we'll get you a guitar. We'll borrow a guitar from my cousin," which we did. And I took lessons from a classical guitarist. I wanted to learn chords, not how to play the guitar.
Right.
And I did. I took 3 months. I took lessons for 3 months. That's all I wanted to do. And then I formed a group of 4 girls, and we were called the Singing Bells.
Wow.
And we sang folk songs and
Whereabouts in Florida was that?
Central Florida, Orlando area.
Yeah. So, when did you get down here? Were you born in Florida?
I was born and raised in Orlando.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, so Mom and Dad moved to Florida in 1945.
Okay.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, so anyway,
Singing Bells.
the Singing Bells, right. And we sang maybe for about a year and a half, and then we all started going to different schools, junior high school, right? And we were then 2 girls. And then I decided I wanted to go solo because groups were very popular at the time. And I said, well, I don't want to be another group now. I want to be a solo performer as long as I can. And that other person that was in my group, just the 2 of us, she was not very happy about that. In fact, she didn't talk to me for the longest time. But anyway, I did. And so I really started performing myself when I was 14.
Uh-huh.
And I went to the Carrera Room Coffee House in Orlando, or actually Winter Park, Florida. And that's where I met Jim Ballou and Gamble. And used to play there. Wilmington used to play there. They'd moved on to other venues, but that's how I found out about the Florida Folk Festival.
Okay.
Jim Ballou.
What
And
year did you start performing there?
1967.
Oh, cool.
Right.
So the scene was already kind of bubbly there a little bit.
Right. But what's interesting is I was just a little Sicilian girl, and I did traditional music basically. And that's when I auditioned for the Florida Folk Festival. That's, of course, is what I sent in as for the audition.
Now here's a
That's
question. What did you send them? Like,
I sent them
reel to
tape.
reel?
They wanted to know. It must have been
Yeah,
back
yeah.
then. You know,
Yeah. Do you remember what songs you sent in?
one song that I sang was East Virginia. I was born in East Virginia.
Yeah.
So that was one of them. I think I said Motherless Child. I think that was another one. The funny thing is, when I was accepted and I sent the songs, they wanted to know what songs I was going to sing at the Folks Festival. I went in the program. So I had to sing what I sent in. So we were kind of stuck back then. We couldn't change our mind at the last. That was what it was expected of me at the time. I had no concept of songwriting at the time. Little Sicilian girl writing songs. I can't do that. So it was, I was in awe of all the performers. That's where the writer, Bob Patterson, the really old timers, Will McLean, and they were just, very different from what I was doing with. That's how I started.
What was your impression of some of those folks?
I just thought they were like way up here.
Well, them predators, don't
And of course, back then it was the men. The men were kings then. The women did not stand out musically back then. No matter what they did, it just, I think, was just more accepted that the men were the major performers.
It's kind of
And
cultural.
I never questioned it. It was a cultural. Leaders, then Will McLean, and then Frank Thomas started asking us to write songs, and started accepting the females as songwriters, that sort of thing. And it never, like I said, it never occurred to me to write.
So that was like a direct encouragement from Will McLean.
It was, and also into a house right on the Indian River, the Intercoastal Highway, and lived there for 3 years. The house was like 8 feet away from the water, and that was like the turning point for me writing. It's just such an inspirational location.
Right, flow.
So I started writing environmental songs about Florida. That's basically what I started writing.
So your first song was a Florida song.
Well, I think my first song really was a song about White Springs. Part of Me. It's a song that we sing at the finale every year now.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was my first song, but then all the other songs progressed from that specific location.
Did you fall in love with that feeling of creativity and the flow and all that?
Oh yeah, right. Then I moved on with other types of topical songs, that sort of thing. But today I did a concert of songs that I sung for weddings that I had written. So it was like 30 minutes of songs about love and marriage and relationships and that sort of thing.
Wow.
But that only came about because I was asked to sing for these family weddings, and I thought how nice it would be to write a song for those individual bride and grooms, that sort of thing.
So this happened a handful of times. You got
11 times.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And you know what I forgot to talk about was how many of those marriages survived, because only 3 out of 11 survived.
That's way above
I
average.
said, you think that's above average?
I do.
Oh my gosh, I'm thinking I'm terrible. They shouldn't ever ask me to sing for a wedding because I'd be bad luck.
Not at all.
So,
Yeah.
so that was fun.
Yeah. So with your participation in the tradition, do you feel like the spirit of the Florida songwriting, it's really special, the Florida. I've never encountered another state that has that really strong statewide folk environmental identity like Florida. That's a really kind of
I really think a lot of it has to do with specific people like Will McLean. Will McLean did all that writing, and he was such a character, and now we have a Will McLean Music Festival, so I think because of Will and because of Frank and Ann Thomas, and they have their own stage at the Florida Folk Festival. I mean, they've passed, but we have this memorial stage, and all the music there is Florida music. And then the Will McLean Festival and the songwriting contest every year.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the judges. They were like, we have at least 75 to 100 songs every year about Florida, about either the environment or obscure characters or obscure stories or events in history that we've never heard of, And so these people are dredging up all of this information and putting it into music. It's amazing, totally amazing. And then there's Dale Kreider with, all his beautiful environmental songs, and that's the most passionate man I've ever known. His music, when he gets up to perform, he talks and talks and talks, and quite often there's not enough time for a song, that sort of thing. So I truly believe it's because there are specific people who have started that movement, that Florida songwriting, preserving Florida through music.
Yeah.
That exists.
Do you see the younger generations coming up in a good way?
I do. And one of the things I've always said is, if you want the children to grow up and protect Florida, they need to learn to love it. And if they experience it, and if they hear about it through music or people talking to them or showing them things, they're going to fall in love with it, and they'll want to protect it. Yeah. So I really think that the future is with the young people. But I'm also seeing some of these young people take some of the old music, make it their own completely.
That's
and
important.
I'm so amazed all the time at the skill that these young people have, vocal skill and and with the instrumental skill. It's amazing to me. So I think, Florida is it's rich here, very, very rich, the music.
Where do you feel like your creative pursuits, specifically are leading you in most recently?
Well, since I'm older now, I'm not performing as much, which is really, really good because we're huge gardeners, and we have over 2 acres of gardens all over the place. So it takes a lot of work. We're constantly, every day we've got to go out and do something, that sort of thing. And I do I'm writing. I'm doing fiction writing.
Oh, cool.
And so I'm trying very hard to be a traditional writer and get accepted traditionally by, I don't want to self-publish. I did that musically, and I want to go that route. And I have actually 4 of my short stories have been published. I'm excited about that. So what's funny is that they're excerpts from novels that I've written. So I'm saying, well, since I can't get the novels published traditionally, I'll get them published 1 chapter at a time with the excerpts. So I may eventually get them all published.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's fun. That's very creative. And
so when you're thinking about, do you think about an audience when you're writing? Or is this kind of like more flow? And then get to
I always do. So
Uh-huh.
that's almost like asking, am I writing for myself or for my audience? When I sit down to write a song, I have a purpose. There's a purpose. There's a story that I want to tell or something that I want to get out there. And always, how would the audience perceive that? To me, that's really, really important. So I think I write for the audience, and sometimes I can't remember. I say, I don't even remember writing that song. How did that all come about? But especially the older songs, I look at them and I just don't remember sitting down with a paper and pencil and writing that out.
What do you feel like are some of the most important things that either came naturally to you or that you honed over years about connecting with audiences live or with your songwriting?
Well, to me, I think, here's an example. In the early days of the St. Augustine Festival, not the Gamble Festival, back when it was the St. Augustine Festival, the day before the festival, or maybe 2 days before the festival, some of us would go around to the high schools and perform for the high school kids to get them interested in coming to the Gamble Fest. So I used to say to myself, what can I do that will interest these young people enough to listen? That sort of thing. That was back when Sam Pizzetti was a senior. I think he was a senior in high school. When he played, it was the most moving thing to me. When he played for his audience, you could hear a pin drop. It was just silent. They just were amazed by his skill and his presence. And I thought, how wonderful is that? But when I got up there, it was like, you could hear the kids out in the audience. Oh, what's this going to be? That sort of thing. So I would sing a song that was just like, I'd start out a song without any instrument, a cappella, and I'd belt out something that shocked them.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like I can use my voice
Yeah.
to reach people
Yeah.
instead of my playing the guitar or just singing a plain old song. I try to embellish that vocally as much as I can and engage the audience with my vocal abilities rather and that gets their attention.
Yeah.
So and then talking between the stories between the songs, because every song has a story
Yeah.
that I like to discuss with people. And I always have a theme when I'm doing a concert, whatever. To me, I'm thematic. So if I like today, it was a wedding theme or love song themes, like up to a certain extent, and then I could see they were ready for me to do something different. And that's another thing, you got to read your audience too.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about like watching you perform is just how accurate you are with your pitch and intonation. Is that something that was came naturally, or is that something you honed in on? And
It
worked
must
on?
be, because I've never had any vocal training,
Ah.
so it must be that it just comes natural. It comes natural. Maybe because of my mom.
Did your mom talk to you about technique or anything like that?
Oh, no.
Ah, yeah.
No, my mom, it's if you could have heard my mom sing, when she hits those high notes, your jaw drops. Because the quality is beautiful, even though she hits these high, powerful notes, and she was just this little lady,
Was she on the Syrian side or the Italian side?
Syrian,
Oh, wow.
Arabic side.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. Yeah, you just have wonderful and natural vibrato, or is that something?
And I guess that's just something that develops.
Yeah.
Because the first solo I ever sang was when I was 13. I went to a Catholic school, and the parish priest was being made Monsignor, and they were having a big ceremony for that. And he was very Irish, red hair, freckles, the whole 9 yards, thick accent, and he wanted "Oh Danny Boy" to be sung at this event, and so they asked me to sing the solo. And I didn't know I could sing, at the time. I just sang with choir, I sang in the choir. So I sang, that was my very first solo, and I was terrified, of course.
Yeah, I guess it went pretty good.
It must have, because I just kept going then after that.
So what are some of the arcs and peaks with the dynamics of the Florida Folk Festival that you've seen that kind of are notable in your mind about how it's changed or stayed the same?
Oh gosh, it definitely hasn't stayed the same. It's always been a worry because we never know if it's going to be able to continue. It's the longest running state festival in the country.
Yeah.
But it has changed so much over the years. It's grown so much with, they say 29 stages. I think
Wow.
the festival it's absolutely amazing. The life area. So back in the days when I started, we had the old marble stage.
Right.
That was it. And there was no cover on the stage. There was, in the back of the stage were bleachers in the back of the stage, and that's where most of the performers would sit as they're waiting. I sat there the whole weekend. I didn't want to move.
Is that where Thelma would hang out?
She probably just sat in her chair. I'm trying to think. She had her rocking chair.
She was a pretty big presence there.
Oh my gosh, she was something else. It's interesting. We made a CD of, we call it "A Part of Me Growing Up in White Springs." It was just, we only made 100 CDs project. What we did was we took the recordings from the state archives, going back from my first appearance to 1979. That's what they had already in the archives, I think, at the time. So it's also a history of the recording of at the festival, because the first recordings are horrible, and we have all the background noises like the tapes. Things like that, and then of course you have birds singing, you have children voices off in the distance in the background, that's a lovely part of it.
Yeah.
But so each year it got a little bit better. But the fun thing is that we have Cousin Thelma introducing me each time, each thing, and then we would, at one point we're sitting on the stage together and we're performing together, and I handed her my guitar. I said, I get to hold her guitar. And then there'd be a little baby out there crying. She said, get that little one a sugar tit. We have all these wonderful things on this recording. But it's also the kind of recording that you listen to one time and then maybe put it away and never listen to it again because of all the noises and
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of thing. But it was a real fun project. So yes, it was very simple when we started out way back when, with the one stage, 10-minute programs.
Oh,
I
wow.
had 10 minutes each program.
Huh.
So by the time I got out there and tried to calm down, it was already over.
Right.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that changed. And then I don't remember when other stages came in. I don't think it happened early on. I think it happened later on that more stages came in. We used to have school children come on Fridays,
Yeah.
have music with the kids all day. Now the schedules have changed, so that doesn't happen. And we have just always, we never know if the state's going to be able to continue to afford it. Like this year, apparently some of the grants didn't come through, so they're struggling to figure out how they're going to pay for certain things. But when it gets to be so large and it's run by the state, that's always going to be a concern.
Yeah.
But I heard that the governor, we just learned from our folklorist that the governor wants next year to have 2 stages to commemorate. What are we commemorating? Not the anniversary of the country, right? Or something like that. Yeah, but 2 stages.
Wow.
So I said, that's a great thing. That means we're going to have a festival next year for sure.
Yeah.
For one thing.
Yeah. I suppose.
And that, yes, and that they're behind it.
Yeah.
That's what we have to have people behind it
Yeah.
to continue it going.
What do you think the key, besides the funding, what do you think the key, like, artistically or creatively is going to be to ensure that the future generations get inspired and excited about it?
Well, again, it's the young people that we need to bring in. Here's something that has changed over the years. It's not so much a folk music festival because, well, there you go again. What's folk music, right?
Yeah.
That's always been a big question.
Yeah.
It's more of an Americana festival
Yeah.
now because the music is so diversified, and just as our state is so diversified.
Right.
So the music has changed so much from way back, like the traditional and the
Yeah.
bluegrass, and it's not just that anymore. It's the jazz, it's the blues, it's the everything coming in. That's really big change. So there was a time when, and of course the directors have changed a lot over the years too.
Yeah.
Their tenures passed, then a new person would come in with their own ideas, and they would change things from the past. They'd go from the traditional to let's modernize it, let's bring in more modern music.
Yeah.
So then you say to yourself, well, that's not really the purpose of the festival. The purpose
Yeah.
of the festival is to celebrate the culture in Florida, musically, culturally, in every way, right?
Yeah.
But in order for the festival to continue and to draw people,
Yeah.
the music has to change. And the music
Balance.
is probably the most important part of the festival.
Yeah.
The music, the dancing, it's so popular. That
Yeah.
is incredibly popular. It amazes me that people can dance all night long.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But yeah, so the future of the festival is getting the young people to love it and drawing other people in and making everybody happy. But what's interesting is that that new Bob Dylan movie that just came out, a lot of people weren't even familiar. A lot of younger people that we know, and they're not so young. That's what's interesting. I'm not so familiar with Bob Dylan. And Joan Baez, who's that? And to me, that's startling to me because they were just like
Does she have an influence on you?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I had every one of her albums.
Yeah.
Every one of Judy Collins' albums. Joni Mitchell, Carolyn Hester.
Some people might compare you a little bit as a compliment. Find some similarities between
Joan Baez, me,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Yes. At one time we went to see Joan Baez in St. Petersburg, and I sang at a small venue that was right there attached to her venue. It was like where everybody went to wait for the concert to begin. So I guess you could say opened sort of in that small venue. Well, after her concert, we went backstage to meet her. And this person walked back with me, another woman, and she said to Joan Baez, "She sounds just like you." I was mortified. I was so mortified, but my mom was And Joan Baez took one look at my mom and she said, "Can I give you a hug?
Oh,
You look just like my mom."
oh, this is sweet.
Yeah, I said, oh, I felt so much better
Yeah,
at that
yeah,
moment.
right. Oh, that's a lovely story.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I watched that movie recently too, and it
Mhm.
just kind of like, was inspiring to, you know, watch that not fictionalized, dramatized, just I didn't really know about like all the really heady Pete Seeger, Woody Guthrie, like that whole
Mhm.
like transmission. I didn't know that Pete had kind of helped put
Mhm.
him on. That's a beautiful thing, like that generational thing.
Mhm.
So like Will could see the Dales and the Genies coming up. And they're like,
Right.
we need to write the songs and kind of like get that inspiration
Mhm.
from Will, and then you're passing it on to the future generations. And here's a question: so if you could kind of like wave your magic fairy wand at the scene and be like, I want to see more of this, I want to see more of this, and I want to see more of this, what would it be?
I would, you know what? I would love to see more clogging.
Clogging.
I'm
More
and,
dancing.
and the live
Yeah.
band playing for the cloggers.
Yeah.
Because this is something I remember from the early days. The night programs where there were cloggers and live band to play were the most exciting programs that existed. They did. I mean, you couldn't help. You couldn't help but get excited about it and get up and want to stomp your feet and everything.
Yeah.
We miss that. We miss that sort of thing. And maybe even more storytelling. People just, I mean, not long, drawn out stories, but, quick stories that make people laugh. And that can be worked into the music, you know? To me, I think that's, and over the years, I've been trying to kind of suggest that. And then when I do the finales now, I do the close out in the festival with the finales, and I bring in other performers. And I have brought in some low cloggers, but I have to spread it out and get a lot of different people to come out and do different things. But I would love to see more of that, more of the live bands, the more, having even one or two dancers out there with the live band. Just there's something exciting about that.
Yeah. I think that, I'm with you. I think that, with bluegrass, like, it's got so much old time roots to it. There was so much dancing happening, and then it just became like a kind of like sit down and listen kind of music, or like a picker's music or something like that. I kind of lost the dance connection. And then I've heard a lot of pickers. I've been this person myself, like like don't want loud like tappy clogs going when you're trying to like play your solo or whatever.
Oh, right.
But now I'm just much more like, no, we need like that synergy of the movement.
And it's synergy. You're right. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying all night long. Just interject it. Here and then. And oh gosh, when things started getting a little dull, you throw in something.
Right.
Oh, that's exciting. And there we are all over again. Yeah. What I don't like to see, and I refuse to do when I'm performing, is preach to or get up there and talk about things that are important to me that may not be important to you. That is not to me, that is, oh, you had that wonderful post on Facebook about that, and I wanted to contribute to that, but there were so many responses, I thought it would get lost in the shuffle. I truly feel that small venues like house concerts, that sort of thing, that's where you share with your audience your ideas, your thoughts, your philosophies, that sort of thing. When you have a large open festival concert venue, to me it's not the place to do that. Now a few years ago I did a program for the civil rights movement, the celebration of the anniversary of the civil rights law. And so what I did was I pulled out all this music from the 60s from the civil rights movement, and I performed it at White Springs. It was unplugged that night because we had storms, and then I did it again the next year on the stage with sound and everything. But it wasn't. There were some people who were offended by it, and all I did was take some of the songs and talk like James Meredith and how difficult it was for him to get to class and that sort of thing. And then one of the songs was talking about him, and so my response to that is what I was doing was history. It happened. The music was there. it was wonderful music. It was just the soul of the whole movement.
Yeah.
And I was reviving the music and talking about the events that occurred around the music.
Yeah.
So I wasn't in any way trying to say you're racist or and nothing had to do with that. That's what I feel. These songs are it's history. That's what folk music is. It's history, really. And as long as it existed, it had, and the music's good, I want to sing it, But that doesn't mean I'm trying to tell you need to be non-racist or you need to know how bad that was. That wasn't the whole point.
Right. These are kind of some of the deeper wisdoms of the perception that I feel can take a long time to really understand well. And I appreciate you kind of reflecting that. Because people with good hearts like yourself, we're not trying to polarize. We're not trying to cause. We're trying to celebrate. And it's interesting how something seemingly safe, like wanting to honor the music like that, could be, irritating or whatever the right word is, bothersome to someone's sensibilities because they think you're trying to be aggressive with it or something. You're not. Just it's a great song, it's history. Let's remember the great songs. Sing along here.
And who is it? Was Woody Guthrie who said that we as folk singers, it is our duty to comfort the disturbed and to disturb the comforted, or the comfortable.
Preach.
And I thought, I don't like that philosophy. I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable.
Okay.
But I will sing a song that tells a story that's very sad, like Woody Guthrie's the plane wreck at Los Gatos Canyon. That was about the Mexicans the plane crashed. The Mexicans were all killed. These were all migrant workers. And Woody Guthrie was in New York at the time, and he saw the newspaper article about it. And what struck him was that they were not named. There were no Mexican names at all. It was all about the pilot and the airline hostess, whoever it was on the plane, but no mention of the names of the Mexicans. So he wrote this song called Deportee. It's a beautiful song. And I sing it, or I have sung it, and it really, you think, oh, how horrible it was. But the truth is, these Mexicans were hired by the USA, and they were under contract to pick fruit and vegetables. And part of the contract was that they would be picked up in Mexico by airplane, flown to the location, and then flown home. So it wasn't as if they were just migrant workers that nobody cared about. And eventually, their families were contacted, and eventually their names were found. And it was in Washington, D.C. last year, I think. They had a big ceremony. Joe Baez was there.
Wow.
She didn't sing. Somebody else sang. But anyway, it was, I think, he didn't have the whole story when he wrote Deportee. He only saw it from one perspective.
Yeah.
So when I sing that song, you think that I feel the same way that he did about it, but it's a beautiful song. I love the song. It happened.
Yeah.
This is the story of the plane wreck at Los Gatos Canyon. This is what I sing. But it happened, and I'm not trying to preach to anybody when I sing the song. I'm just trying to tell the story.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people, they're not too happy about some of the songs. But I love the protest songs of the 60s.
Yeah.
I love those songs, but I couldn't really sing them in the coffee houses because people, they'd say, oh, well, you're not going to be able to sing at our venue if you're going to sing protest songs. So I'd sing in the bathroom at home.
That's such an interesting nuance of the journey that I think that a lot of folks, have no clue about. And I think some people might that were not as maybe wise or determined or galvanized with it, because I think some people would get a whiff of that and be like, forget all of this. But no, you got to pick your battles, pick your songs, all that at the same time. These are really interesting, facets of the folk singer diamond,
right?
To reflect on. That's cool.
So basically, I think I just really liked songs that were beautiful or the lyrics were amazing. I just didn't want to just sing every song that was out there. I picked songs that were meaningful to me.
Yeah.
And then I felt like I could make them meaningful to the audience
Yeah.
in my own way, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's how I could choose the music that I like to do.
So you really have to believe in it,
Mm-hmm.
which, yeah.
Yeah.
Is to take it.
Right.
And feel free to pass on this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Is there a spiritual component to what you do?
I don't think so. I don't think there's a spiritual component.
But definitely a connection to the earth, the land.
Oh, yes, there's that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really important.
Yeah. The grounding.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to
I enjoyed it. I could
visit.
talk for hours.
Is there anything, any words of wisdom that you'd like to leave with our listeners and watchers here?
Well, I just wish everybody would be kind to one another.
That's what it comes down to.
Today I sang the old song, Get Together.
Yeah.
Come on, people now, smile on each other, Yeah, if we could just all respect one another and listen without getting angry and trying to accept everyone's point of view, or let them speak and understand and be kind to one another. That to me is, I'm not seeing a lot of that now, and it's been very disturbing amongst our music friends, even. I don't care what your persuasions are, politically or religiously or whatever. It's you have yours and we have ours, and let's just be happy and kind to one another and continue on as we have with our friendships.
I love that quote, be the change you want to see in the world. And I think you lead very beautifully with your light, and that's wonderful stewardship of the tradition and leadership of the culture and the community. I appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I appreciate that in you and your family too, because I see you have a beautiful family in every way. You're just an inspiration to us all.
Well, I think the Florida folk, world is a little bit of a secret world. To some folks who haven't had the privilege of being down here, but at the folk festivals.
To surrender.